The news came on a crisp October morning when Doria was helping Archie build an elaborate tower with wooden blocks in the playroom. Meghan appeared in the doorway with a smile that seemed to light up the entire room, her hand resting gently on her still flat stomach. Harry stood behind her, his own face glowing with excitement and nervous energy that reminded Doria of how he had looked when Archie was born. "We have something wonderful to tell you both," Meghan said, her voice soft with emotion. Archie looked up from his blocks, immediately sensing that something important was happening. Doria felt her heart skip as she recognized the particular joy in her daughter's expression, the same look she had worn when she announced her first pregnancy. "You're going to be a big brother, Archie," Harry said, kneeling down to his son's level. "Mama has a baby growing in her tummy, and we're going to have a new family member to love." Archie's reaction was immediate and enthusiastic. He dropped his blocks and ran to Meghan, gently patting her stomach as he had been taught to do when meeting babies. "When will the baby come out?" he asked with the directness that only young children possess. His excitement was pure and uncomplicated, reflecting the secure, loving environment that had prepared him to welcome new additions to his family with joy rather than jealousy. For Doria, the moment was overwhelming in the most wonderful way. She had experienced the miracle of pregnancy and birth with Meghan decades earlier, but this announcement represented something different and equally precious. She would have the opportunity to be present from the beginning of this child's life, to offer support and wisdom during the pregnancy, and to help create the same loving foundation for this new baby that they had established for Archie. The months that followed brought new rhythms and adjustments to their household. Meghan's pregnancy was carefully guarded from media attention, but within their home, it became a source of excitement and preparation that involved everyone. Doria drew upon her experience as both a mother and a social worker to help the family navigate the practical and emotional aspects of expanding their family. Morning sickness in the early weeks required adjustments to their routines. Doria took on additional responsibilities for Archie's care while Meghan rested, but she was careful to maintain his connection with his mother and to help him understand that the changes were temporary and positive. She explained pregnancy in age-appropriate terms, helping Archie understand that his mama needed extra rest so the baby could grow strong and healthy. The educational opportunities that the pregnancy provided became part of their daily learning. Doria found children's books about pregnancy and new babies that helped Archie understand what was happening in his mother's body. They would read these books together, with Archie asking endless questions about how babies grow, what they need, and how he could help care for his new sibling. These conversations laid the foundation for his role as a big brother while satisfying his natural curiosity. Doctor appointments became family events when possible, with Doria and Archie accompanying Meghan to ultrasound visits where they could see the baby's development. Archie was fascinated by the images on the screen, pointing out what he thought were the baby's hands and feet, and asking when he would be able to play with his new sibling. These visits created anticipation and connection that helped him feel involved in the pregnancy journey. The nursery preparation became a collaborative project that brought the family together around their shared excitement. Doria suggested that they involve Archie in age-appropriate decisions about the baby's room, giving him ownership in the process while teaching him about welcoming new family members. He helped choose colors for the walls, selected stuffed animals for the crib, and carefully arranged books on the nursery shelves. Doria's experience with child development influenced their approach to preparing the nursery and selecting baby equipment. She advised about safety considerations, recommended products that had proven effective with Archie, and helped them think through the practical needs of caring for a newborn while managing a household with an active 4-year-old. Her wisdom prevented them from over-purchasing unnecessary items while ensuring they had everything truly needed for the baby's arrival. The physical changes of pregnancy affected the entire family's daily routines. As Meghan's energy levels fluctuated, Doria stepped in to maintain consistency for Archie while encouraging him to help his mother in small ways. He learned to bring her extra pillows, to speak more quietly when she was resting, and to understand that some activities would need to wait until after the baby was born. These adjustments taught him empathy and consideration for others while preparing him for the realities of life with a newborn. Holiday celebrations that fall took on special significance as they prepared for their last Christmas as a family of four. Doria helped create traditions that would continue after the baby's arrival, while acknowledging that future holidays would have a different dynamic. They made special ornaments that included space for the new baby, planned meals that would be easy to manage after the birth, and established gift-giving traditions that could accommodate a growing family. The extended family planning required the first significant challenge came on a Tuesday morning in late winter when Archie woke up crying and refused to eat his breakfast. At 4 years old, he was usually cheerful and cooperative, but that morning he seemed overwhelmed by emotions he could not articulate. Doria recognized the signs immediately. The tantrum was not about food or routine, but about something deeper that was troubling the little boy. Meghan was on a video call with producers discussing an upcoming project when Archie's crying escalated. Harry was in his home office handling correspondence with his charitable organizations. It fell to Doria to navigate this difficult moment, and she drew upon decades of experience working with children and families in crisis to understand what Archie needed. Sitting on the kitchen floor beside him, Doria spoke softly and waited for the storm of emotions to pass. She had learned from her professional work that children often could not express their feelings in words, and that patient presence was more effective than trying to fix the problem immediately. When Archie's tears finally slowed, she carried him to the living room where they sat together in the rocking chair that had become their special place for important conversations. Through gentle questioning and careful listening, Doria discovered that Archie had overheard parts of adult conversations about media coverage and public criticism of his family. While the grown-ups had tried to shield him from these realities, his sharp mind had picked up on the tension and worry in his parents' voices. He was confused about why people he had never met seemed angry with his family and worried that they might have to move again. This moment became a turning point in how the family approached communication and emotional support within their household. Doria suggested they hold regular family meetings where everyone could share their feelings and concerns in age-appropriate ways. These gatherings became opportunities to address Archie's questions honestly while reassuring him about the stability and love in his life. The media pressure that spring intensified following some public appearances by Meghan and Harry. Photographers began camping outside their neighborhood more frequently, and the family's privacy was invaded in ways that reminded them why they had left royal life in the first place. Doria watched her daughter struggle with the familiar stress of constant scrutiny while trying to maintain a normal home environment for Archie. During this difficult period, Doria's presence became even more crucial to the family's well-being. She took on additional responsibilities to allow Meghan and Harry to focus on managing the media crisis while ensuring that Archie's routine remained stable and comforting. She would take him on longer walks in their secured backyard, engage him in elaborate craft projects, and create indoor adventure games that kept him entertained while his parents dealt with urgent phone calls and strategy sessions. The strain of living under constant public attention affected everyone differently. Meghan became more protective and sometimes isolated herself to avoid adding to the family's media burden. Harry struggled with feelings of guilt about bringing his wife and son into a situation he had hoped to escape. Doria found herself serving as a bridge between them, offering perspective from her years of watching her daughter navigate public life, while providing practical support that kept their household functioning. One particularly challenging week, when tabloid stories about their family reached a new level of intrusion, Doria suggested they take a complete break from all media coverage and focus entirely on their family life. She organized a series of special activities that would remind them of what truly mattered, elaborate cooking projects where they all worked together to prepare favorite family meals, movie nights with films from Meghan and Harry's childhoods, and extended playtime in the garden where they could forget about the outside world. These activities served multiple purposes. For Archie, they provided extra attention and engagement during a time when his parents were distracted by external pressures. For Meghan and Harry, they offered reminders of the joy and normalcy that was possible within their family unit. For Doria, they represented her commitment to protecting her family's emotional well-being regardless of outside circumstances. The gardening project they undertook during this period became particularly meaningful. Together, the four of them planned and planted a vegetable garden that would provide food for their table while teaching Archie about growth, patience, and the rewards of caring for living things. Doria guided the project with her knowledge of plants and soil while encouraging everyone to contribute ideas and effort. The physical work of preparing the soil, planting seeds, and setting up irrigation systems provided therapeutic relief from mental stress while creating something beautiful and productive. As spring turned to summer, the garden became a source of pride and accomplishment for the entire family. Archie delighted in checking the progress of his plants each morning, learning to identify the first signs of germination and growth. Doria taught him how to measure the plants and record their progress in a simple journal, combining his interest in the garden with early literacy and math skills. When they harvested their first vegetables, the sense of achievement was shared by everyone who had contributed to the project's success. The success of their collaborative gardening led to other family projects that strengthened their bonds while providing constructive outlets for stress and creativity. They began a family cookbook project, documenting favorite recipes from all sides of their heritage while creating new fusion dishes that reflected their unique cultural blend. Doria shared recipes from her childhood and her mother's kitchen, while Meghan contributed dishes she had learned during her travels and acting career. Harry added traditional British foods that he wanted Archie to experience as part of his heritage. The cookbook project became more than a collection of recipes. It evolved into a family history document that would preserve stories and traditions for future generations. As they cooked together and documented the recipes, they shared memories and experiences that gave Archie a rich understanding of his family's journey and the different cultures that had shaped his identity. During this period, Doria also worked to strengthen her own support network in California. She had left behind friends and familiar routines in Los Angeles when she moved to Montecito, and she recognized the importance of maintaining her own identity and relationships outside of her role as grandmother and family support. She began attending a local yoga studio, where she met other women her age who shared similar interests and values. These new friendships provided Doria with emotional outlets and perspectives that enriched her own life, while making her an even better resource for her family. The wisdom and energy she gained from her yoga practice and social connections flowed back into her interactions with Archie, Meghan, and Harry. She was able to offer advice and support from a place of personal fulfillment rather than sacrifice, which made her contributions more sustainable and authentic. The summer months brought new opportunities and challenges as Archie's social needs expanded. Other families in their neighborhood had children his age, and playdates became an important part of his social development. Doria worked closely with Meghan and Harry to establish friendships that would provide Archie with normal childhood experiences while maintaining appropriate security and privacy measures. These social arrangements required careful coordination and planning, but Doria's background in social work helped her navigate the complexities of building relationships while protecting their family's privacy. She became skilled at identifying families who shared their values and could be trusted with the responsibility of maintaining discretion about Archie's identity and circumstances. The birthday celebration they organized for Archie that summer reflected the growth and stability their family had achieved. Instead of a large, elaborate party that might attract media attention, they hosted an intimate gathering with a few carefully selected families from their community. Doria took the lead in planning activities that would be engaging for children while creating opportunities for adults to build meaningful connections. The party featured games and crafts that celebrated creativity and cooperation rather than competition. Doria organized a treasure hunt in their garden, a collaborative art project where all the children contributed to a large mural, and a cooking activity where kids could make their own individual pizzas. These activities reflected the values their family prioritized while ensuring that Archie felt celebrated and special on his important day. The success of the birthday celebration validated their approach to balancing Archie's need for normal childhood experiences with the reality of their unique circumstances. The other parents appreciated the thoughtful, inclusive atmosphere, and several lasting friendships were formed that would continue to enrich Archie's social development. As autumn approached again, marking a full year of their living arrangement, Doria reflected on the challenges they had overcome and the growth they had all experienced. The media pressures had not disappeared, but their family had developed resilience and coping strategies that protected their core relationships and values. Archie had grown more confident and articulate, secure in the knowledge that he was loved and supported by multiple generations of his family. The household routines that had seemed experimental a year earlier now felt natural and sustainable. Doria's role had evolved from temporary assistance to permanent family foundation, but in ways that honored her independence and personal needs while providing the stability her daughter's family required. She had successfully integrated her own identity and interests with her commitment to her family's well-being. The challenges they had faced together had strengthened rather than weakened their family bonds. Each crisis had become an opportunity to develop better communication, deeper understanding, and more effective support systems. Doria's wisdom and experience had proven invaluable in navigating these difficulties, while her flexibility and openness to learning had allowed her to adapt to changing circumstances and new challenges. Looking ahead to the future, Doria felt confident that their family was prepared to handle whatever challenges might arise. They had established patterns of mutual support, open communication, and shared responsibility that could weather any storm. The foundation of love and respect they had built would serve as a strong base for continued growth and development as Archie matured and as their family potentially expanded in the future. The autumn air carried the scent of eucalyptus and sea salt as Doria pushed Archie on the swing set that Harry had installed in their backyard. The simple pleasure of watching her grandson's delighted laughter filled her with a joy that reminded her of similar moments she had shared with Meghan decades earlier. But this time was different, richer somehow, because she was not raising a child alone but was part of a loving family unit that valued her contribution and presence. 6 months had passed since Doria had officially moved into the Montecito home, and the rhythm of their daily life had settled into patterns that felt both natural and nurturing. The house had become more than a residence. It had transformed into a true home where 3 generations lived in harmony, each contributing their unique strengths to create an environment where Archie could thrive. The morning routines had evolved into cherished rituals. Doria would wake early, as was her habit from years of meditation practice, and spend quiet time in the garden before the rest of the family stirred. This solitary time allowed her to center herself for the day ahead and connect with the natural world that had always been a source of strength for her. As the sun rose higher, she would return to the house and begin preparing a healthy breakfast that brought the family together before their individual activities began. Archie had grown more confident and articulate during these months, his vocabulary expanding as he engaged in daily conversations with adults who listened to his thoughts and encouraged his questions. Doria took particular pleasure in his growing independence, remembering how she had nurtured similar qualities in Meghan during her childhood. The parallel was not lost on her. She was helping to raise another generation with the same values of curiosity, kindness, and critical thinking that had served her daughter well. The educational aspects of Archie's daily life were carefully woven into play and exploration rather than formal instruction. Doria, with her background in social work and understanding of child development, created learning opportunities that felt like adventures to a 4-year-old boy. When they worked in the garden, she taught him about plant biology through hands-on observation. When they prepared meals together, he learned about nutrition, measurements, and cultural traditions through family recipes that connected him to his heritage. One particularly meaningful tradition that emerged was their weekly visits to the local farmers market. Doria would take Archie on these excursions, teaching him to select fresh produce, interact politely with vendors, and understand where food comes from before it reaches their table. These outings required careful planning due to security considerations, but Doria was determined that Archie experienced normal childhood activities despite the unique circumstances of his family life. During these market visits, Archie would carry his own small basket and take pride in choosing vegetables and fruits for their family meals. Doria encouraged his choices while gently guiding him toward healthy options, explaining how different foods would help his body grow strong. The vendors came to know them as regular customers, and Archie learned to engage in simple conversations with people from different backgrounds and cultures, developing social skills that would serve him throughout his life. The relationship between Doria and Meghan had deepened during this period of living together. As an adult, Meghan had a new appreciation for her mother's wisdom and the sacrifices she had made throughout her childhood. Now, watching Doria with Archie, Meghan could see the same patient, nurturing approach that had shaped her own character. The two women often found themselves talking late into the evening after Archie was asleep, sharing thoughts about child-rearing, discussing Meghan's work projects, and simply enjoying the companionship that had sustained them through many challenges. These conversations revealed the depth of Doria's understanding of the unique pressures facing their family. She had observed firsthand how the constant media attention affected Meghan's well-being and decision-making process. Doria's presence provided not only practical support, but emotional stability during moments when Meghan felt overwhelmed by public scrutiny or professional demands. Having someone who had known her since birth and loved her unconditionally created a safe space where Meghan could express her concerns without judgment. Harry's relationship with Doria had continued to develop in ways that surprised them both. Having grown up in the highly structured environment of royal life, he found Doria's approach to family life refreshingly natural and unforced. She treated him not as a prince or public figure, but as her son-in-law and Archie's father, offering advice when asked and support when needed, but never overstepping boundaries or assuming authority that belonged to Archie's parents. The cultural exchange within their household became one of its most enriching aspects. Doria brought her African-American heritage and Los Angeles upbringing to blend with Harry's British background and Meghan's mixed cultural identity. This fusion created a unique environment where Archie was exposed to diverse perspectives, foods, music, and traditions that would form his understanding of his own complex identity. Holiday celebrations became particularly special during this period. Doria helped establish new traditions that honored different aspects of their family's heritage while creating fresh memories specific to their California life. Thanksgiving took on special significance as a time to reflect on their gratitude for being together and for the opportunity to build their family life according to their own values rather than external expectations. The preparation for these celebrations became as meaningful as the events themselves. Doria would involve Archie in age-appropriate cooking tasks, teaching him family recipes while sharing stories about his heritage. She told him about his great-grandparents, helping him understand his place in a long line of strong, resilient people who had overcome challenges through love and determination. Christmas planning required careful consideration of how to blend British royal traditions with American customs and their own family preferences. Doria suggested they focus on creating their own traditions rather than trying to replicate what either Meghan or Harry had experienced in their respective childhoods. This approach allowed them to build something new while incorporating elements from both sides of their heritage. The gift-giving philosophy they developed emphasized experiences and learning over material possessions. Doria encouraged presents that would stimulate Archie's creativity or curiosity rather than expensive toys that might overwhelm him. Books became a central part of their gift exchanges, with each family member selecting stories that reflected their hopes for Archie's growing understanding of the world. Reading time had evolved into one of their most treasured daily rituals. Each evening, after dinner and bath time, the family would gather in the living room where Doria, Meghan, or Harry would read to Archie. The selection of books reflected their commitment to diversity and inclusion, featuring stories with characters from different backgrounds and cultures. Doria often chose books that she had read to Meghan during her childhood, creating a beautiful continuity across generations. The outdoor spaces of their property provided endless opportunities for learning and bonding. Doria and Archie would spend hours exploring the garden, observing insects, identifying plants, and simply enjoying the natural world. She taught him to be gentle with living creatures and to understand his responsibility as a caretaker of the environment. These lessons extended beyond their own property as they discussed conservation and the importance of protecting the planet for future generations. Physical activity became another area where Doria's influence was strongly felt. With her background in yoga and commitment to healthy living, she introduced Archie to age-appropriate exercises and stretches. Their morning routine often included simple yoga poses that helped Archie develop body awareness and balance while providing a calming start to his day. She explained these activities as ways to keep his body strong and his mind peaceful, laying the foundation for a lifetime of healthy habits. The creative arts held an important place in their daily activities. Doria encouraged Archie's natural creativity through drawing, painting, and simple crafts projects. These activities provided opportunities for self-expression while developing fine motor skills and patience. She would display his artwork throughout the house, treating his creations with the same respect given to professional art, which built his confidence and pride in his creative abilities. Music became another shared pleasure in their household. Doria would sing lullabies and folk songs that connected Archie to his cultural heritage while introducing him to different musical styles and rhythms. She taught him simple songs and encouraged him to make up his own verses, fostering his imagination and language development. These musical moments often became spontaneous dance parties in their living room, filled with laughter and movement that brought the whole family together. The community connections that Doria helped establish extended their family circle beyond their household. She identified other families in their neighborhood with children close to Archie's age, facilitating playdates and social interactions that were crucial for his development. These relationships required careful management due to privacy concerns, but Doria's experience in social work helped her navigate these situations with wisdom and discretion. The success of their living arrangement was measured not by public opinion or media coverage, but by the daily evidence of a thriving, loving family. Archie's confidence, curiosity, and kindness reflected the nurturing environment that Doria, Meghan, and Harry had created together. The boy who had once been shy about his mixed heritage now proudly shared stories about his grandmother's cooking and his father's homeland with equal enthusiasm. As autumn turned to winter, the patterns they had established became the foundation for their continued growth as a family. Doria's presence had proven to be more than helpful. It had become essential to the healthy functioning of their household. The wisdom she brought from her years of experience, combined with her deep love for her family, created an environment where everyone could flourish while staying true to their values and commitments to each other. The morning sun streamed through the large windows of the Montecito mansion, casting warm golden light across the living room where Doria Ragland sat cross-legged on a yoga mat, her eyes closed in meditation. At 67 years old, she had learned that peace came not from the size of one's home or the fame of one's family, but from the quiet moments of reflection that grounded her spirit. The house around her was beautiful, certainly more luxurious than the modest Los Angeles home where she had raised her daughter Meghan. But it was the love that filled these rooms that truly mattered. The sound of small feet padding across hardwood floors broke her meditation. Archie Harrison, now 4 years old, appeared in the doorway wearing his favorite dinosaur pajamas, his curly hair tousled from sleep. His eyes, a striking combination of his mother's warmth and his father's gentle nature, lit up when he saw his grandmother. Without hesitation, he ran to her, climbing into her lap with the easy affection that only grandchildren possess. "Good morning, my little love," Doria whispered, wrapping her arms around him. The bond between them had been forged from his earliest days, strengthened by circumstances that had brought them together in ways she never could have imagined. When Meghan and Harry had made the difficult decision to step back from royal duties and move to California, Doria knew her role in their lives would change dramatically. She had gone from being a grandmother who saw Archie during visits to becoming an integral part of his daily life. The transition had not been simple. Doria remembered the first conversations with Meghan about the possibility of her living with them. Her daughter had been hesitant to ask, knowing how much Doria valued her independence. For decades, Doria had built a life centered around her work as a social worker, her yoga practice, and her small circle of trusted friends in Los Angeles. The idea of uprooting that life, even for family, required careful consideration. But, as Meghan had shared her struggles with the intense media scrutiny, the challenges of royal life, and her deep desire to raise her children with the same values Doria had instilled in her, the decision became clear. This was not about sacrifice. It was about love and action. Doria had spent her career helping families navigate difficult transitions, and now her own family needed that same support. The move to Montecito had been gradual. Initially, Doria had maintained her own apartment while spending extended periods with Meghan, Harry, and Archie. She watched as her daughter struggled with the adjustment to California life after years in the United Kingdom. Meghan, who had always been strong and independent, was grappling with the weight of public criticism, the challenge of establishing new routines, and the exhaustion that came with caring for a young child while managing professional obligations. During those early months, Doria became more than a grandmother. She became a source of stability in a household that was still finding its rhythm. She would arrive early in the morning to help with Archie's routine, allowing Meghan and Harry to focus on their work calls with different time zones. She would stay late into the evening, helping with bedtime stories and ensuring that Archie felt secure in his new environment. The decision for Doria to move in permanently came naturally. One evening, as she was preparing to drive back to her apartment, Archie had wrapped his small arms around her legs and asked, "Why can't Grandma Doria stay here always?" The innocence of the question cut straight to the heart of what they all knew but had been hesitant to articulate. This arrangement was not temporary. It was what their family needed to thrive. Doria's integration into the household had been seamless in some ways and challenging in others. She brought with her a lifetime of wisdom about child rearing, having raised Meghan largely as a single mother after her divorce from Thomas Markle. She understood the importance of structure balanced with creativity, of discipline tempered with unconditional love. These principles became the foundation of Archie's daily routine. Mornings in the household began with Doria's gentle presence. While Meghan and Harry handled their professional responsibilities, Doria would guide Archie through his morning routine with the patience that only grandmothers possess. She would help him choose his clothes, encouraging his growing independence while ensuring he was dressed appropriately for the day's activities. Breakfast became a special time for them, where Doria would prepare simple, healthy meals while engaging Archie in conversations that stimulated his curiosity about the world. The kitchen became their special space. Doria would lift Archie onto a step stool so he could help her prepare meals, teaching him about different foods, where they came from, and why eating well was important for his growing body. These were not formal lessons, but natural conversations that flowed as they cooked together. Archie learned to wash vegetables, measure ingredients, and understand that food preparation was an act of love and care. Doria's influence extended beyond daily routines to the deeper aspects of Archie's character development. Having worked as a social worker for many years, she understood child psychology and development in ways that complemented Meghan and Harry's parenting instincts. She could recognize when Archie was overwhelmed, when he needed more structure, or when he simply needed the undivided attention of someone who had time to listen to his 4-year-old observations about the world. The garden became another space where their relationship flourished. Doria had always found peace in working with plants, and she began teaching Archie about gardening as a way to connect with nature and understand responsibility. Together, they would plant seeds, water young plants, and observe the daily changes that came with growth. For Archie, these activities were play. For Doria, they were opportunities to instill values about patience, care, and the cycles of life. The presence of security personnel and the occasional intrusion of photographers reminded them all that their family life was different from most. Doria had to adjust to living in a home where privacy was a precious commodity and where simple activities like taking Archie to a local park required planning and coordination. She learned to navigate the balance between protecting Archie's childhood innocence and preparing him for the unique realities of his life. Despite these challenges, Doria was determined to provide Archie with as normal a childhood as possible. She would take him on walks around their neighborhood, pointing out different flowers, teaching him to identify birds, and encouraging his natural curiosity about everything he encountered. These simple activities became precious memories and learning opportunities that required no special arrangements or security protocols. The relationship between Doria and her son-in-law Harry developed during this time as well. Harry, who had lost his own mother at a young age, found in Doria a maternal figure who offered wisdom without judgment and support without conditions. She understood his protective instincts regarding his family and his desire to give his children a different experience than his own complicated childhood. Their conversations often centered around practical matters of child rearing, but they also touched on deeper themes of family, responsibility, and the challenge of raising children in the public eye. Evenings in the household often found the extended family gathered in the living room, with Doria reading stories to Archie while Meghan and Harry handled work calls or planning for upcoming projects. The sight of 3 generations together, creating new traditions while honoring old ones, represented the success of their unconventional arrangement. Doria's presence provided stability that allowed Meghan and Harry to pursue their professional goals while ensuring that Archie received the constant attention and care he needed. The media attention surrounding their living arrangement was something Doria learned to ignore. Having lived through the intense scrutiny that surrounded Meghan's relationship with Harry and their subsequent marriage, she understood that public opinion would always exist, but that it should never dictate family decisions. Her focus remained on what was best for her family, particularly for Archie, whose well-being was paramount in all their considerations. As the months passed, the arrangement that had begun as a temporary solution evolved into a permanent family structure that worked for everyone involved. Doria maintained her independence and her own interests while being fully integrated into the daily life of her daughter's family. She continued her yoga practice, maintained friendships from her life in Los Angeles, and pursued her own hobbies and interests, but always within the context of being available for the family that needed her. The success of their living arrangement lay not in the grand gestures or public statements, but in the small, daily moments of connection and care. It was Doria helping Archie learn to tie his shoes, Meghan and Doria cooking together while sharing stories and laughter, Harry and Doria discussing Archie's development and future educational needs. These ordinary moments created the foundation of an extraordinary family bond that would shape Archie's childhood and provide him with the security he needed to grow into a confident, caring young person. The first phase of their life together established patterns and relationships that would continue to evolve as Archie grew and as new children joined their family. Doria's presence represented more than practical help. It embodied the continuity of family love and wisdom passing from one generation to the next, creating a bridge between the family's past and its future in their new California home. In the quiet moments before dawn breaks over Montecito, California, a gentle voice can be heard singing lullabies that carry the wisdom of generations. Doria Ragland, a woman whose life has been shaped by resilience, love, and unwavering strength, rocks her grandson Archie Harrison in her arms while the world sleeps. This is not just another celebrity story about royal family drama or tabloid headlines. This is the deeply human tale of a grandmother who chose love over luxury, family over fame, and authenticity over appearances. What happens when a yoga instructor and social worker from Los Angeles finds herself at the center of a global media storm? How does a woman who raised her daughter with humble values navigate the complexities of royal life, public scrutiny, and the responsibility of helping to raise a child who carries both American dreams and British heritage in his DNA? This is Doria's story, a journey of sacrifice, wisdom, and the unbreakable bonds that hold a family together when the whole world is watching.